Appreciate everybody's patience in this. We are trying out tonight. This is the maiden voyage of our new equipment, and very fortunate to have some of our tech staff on board with us tonight. Daniel Salazar is going to help us see if we can navigate this.
You're really bad. We need you, and there's a special friend in here too that we need. Oh. Are y'all ready?
Yeah.
Mr. Hendricks, stand up!
Yeah, you just got here.
Oh, perfect timing! We have something special for you, and you, Nurse Summers.
Oh, goodness.
All
Are
right.
you still ready? You excited?
Good morning, Hendricks. How are you?
Say good morning.
Good to see you. Good to see you. I've got something here that says that Hendricks Bennett has been elected the Venus Primary School Student of the Month. So Hendricks, come on up. Right here, look out here at your classmates. And I'm going to read what's on the back of this. Is that okay? I'm going to get my glasses so I can see this. It says, This is what Mrs. Farah says about Hendricks. He does an exceptional job in the classroom. He's always ready for class by being prepared, following the routine and directions the first time they're given, and he helps lead by example. He is a great friend to the others in the classroom and is always lending a helping hand when he's needed. He actively participates in class each day, goes above and beyond to complete assignments on time, works to his full potential, and is making huge academic strides in the first grade. Hendricks shows respect not only to staff and teachers, but he also shows the same respect to his classmates. Is that true? Yeah. He is one of the first to jump up and lend a helping hand whether it be picking up trash outside or helping a friend complete a task. He shows tons of excitement by learning and is eager to learn something new each day. He exhibits school pride by being ready, responsible, and respectful each day, and he is proud to be a Venus Primary pup. Let's give it up for Hendricks. All
Mr.
right, Mr. Nazareth, what do you have for this young man?
There's some healthy snacks in there, and there's even a movie in there for you to watch later.
What?
What do you
Fabulous!
Andrews, come here, let's get a picture, and then we're gonna get, we got a few other. Here we
Let's do
go.
the videos all in one piece, and then
Okay.
we'll take pictures.
Okay, we'll take pictures later?
Yep.
All right, okay, so we're gonna put this right back here, and she'll stand right over here. Now we have something for Mrs. Fira. Come on over. Let's give her a big hand. Mrs. Fira has been voted Venus Primary School Teacher of the Month. Let's give her a big hand for that. Let's see what it says. What kind of stuff it says back here about Miss Fira? And it says, every time I walk into her classroom, she's on her feet teaching and works really hard to keep her class engaged. Never fails to amaze me, and she's always in control of every problem that is thrown at her. She works well with challenging students who often struggle, and she makes learning fun. Does she make it fun, kids? Yeah. She is working really hard this year to jump back into first grade. She is patiently and lovingly dealing with all of her students, and she shows them love in a fair way with expectations. It's great to have her on our team again. Let's give it up for our Teacher of the Month, Mrs. Fira. Okay, we'll hold this, and then here in just a minute we've got one more, don't we? We have Nurse Summers. Nurse Summers is Venus Primary School Staff Member of the Month. Let's see what it says about Nurse Summers. How many of you have been to see Nurse Summers? Oh, a bunch of you. Yeah. She's like, oh yeah. A bunch. Well, she does a fabulous job. She never once complains about anything. It's tough during this pandemic, and she's still doing a great job. Works endlessly in her position and tirelessly. I don't think I've ever seen someone have so many laps around the school and care for so many children at once. Nurse Summers deserves recognition for her selflessness in working with young children during a pandemic. She is caring and she is fearless. Thank you, Nurse Summers, for keeping us all safe. One more time, let's give her a big round of applause.
DNA is our Student of the Month.
Well, congratulations, B&A. I want to say a few things about this. So, Ms. Perez is going to go stand by B&A. But I want to tell you why she became Student of the Month. It says so right here. B&A is always positive about everything going on in the classroom. And when she doesn't understand something, she finds something positive about it. Having a positive force in the classroom helps bring the attitude of everyone around her up and keeps the teachers and students alike calm and collected. She helps anyone that needs help and is always finding ways to help the teachers with things. She is one of the most respectful students I've had the pleasure of working with, and she has become one of my most favorite students. Guys, here's B&A Fernandez. Hey, what's going on? Oh, just having lunch. We're just. Wait.
Y'all are gonna have
What? No. What? Oh my goodness, there's no way. There's no way. Congratulations to our Teacher of the Month. So, on behalf of the Governor of Texas, asked me to step in on his behalf.
Oh, is that right?
So, yes, and
That's
what he
awesome.
says is, Mrs. Owens has done an amazing job as the math lead for the 4th grade, yes?
Aw.
She has helped facilitate different trainings to ensure her team is on the same page, and she understands and respects the need for collaboration on her team. She's the first to offer help when someone needs it. Mrs. Owen is constantly disaggregating data for her class to make certain that they are making adequate progress. She is dedicated to student success and teacher growth in her 4th grade math hallway. Mrs. Owens is doing a fantastic job. Congratulations, Miss Amanda Owens.
These are from Miss We'll see. Miss Walter's gonna tell us. It's a
So, who do we have here, Miss Walton?
This is Miss LaBelle, 3rd grade.
All right, 3rd grade, Ross.
see me?
Yes. Well, guys, I'm glad you're in here because what I want you to see is today Miss Wolverton is being presented with an award.
Yay!
And she knows nothing about this.
Nope.
So, what she is doing, she's receiving today Venus Elementary School Staff Member of the Month. So, yeah. So let me tell you why now. Oh, here's our bouquet of balloons because she's a rock star, right? Yeah. Okay. So what this says is Miss Wolverton has worked tirelessly to ensure that our library and the books are sanitized in order for the students to continue to check them out. She understands the importance of letting our kiddos have access to the library and wants to make certain that it is done safely. She also has done a great job in the morning for breakfast duty and during lunch each day. Miss Wolverton is constantly willing to help anyone who needs it. She is the definition of a team player. We appreciate the hard work that she has done and will continue to do this school year. You guys give Miss Wolverton a big principal today.
She hurt her wrist.
Okay.
And
So
volleyball.
This will be so cool. So Mia, or Mackenzie, on behalf of Mia, all right, this is like the Academy Awards, so you gotta look at the audience here. On behalf of Mia, you're going to accept this award for Venus Middle School Student of the Month, okay? Yay, give her a big hand. Okay, so let's see what it says back here. It says, Mia has really been such an excellent student and citizen this year. She always treats everyone with respect and has such a positive attitude. She's engaged in learning each day. She often shares about things she's accomplishing in other classes, whether it's being in top band, how much she's lifting in athletics, or thinking about which UIL event to participate in this year. Mia has had an outstanding start to the school year, and we're very, very proud of Mia Cuevas and what she's done this year, and she's being selected as the middle school student of the month, and accepting on her behalf is her best friend in life, Mackenzie, right?
Can we come in? Absolutely. Okay.
Good morning, good morning. Oh, this is a small setting to this morning, isn't it?
It is. This is normally it's my online, so
Uh-huh.
We got a couple that have come
yeah,
back.
we have got a couple that have come back, so.
Can we sort of commandeer the next 2.5 minutes,
Absolutely,
and then we'll be out of your hair.
absolutely.
Hey guys, what we wanted to do this morning was to announce that the Venus Middle School Teacher of the Month is
Oh, wait,
Mrs.
what?
Stamps. Yes, y'all give her a hand, yeah.
Congratulations!
Yes, now typically what we do is we have the Teacher of the Month come to our school board meeting, and we present these awards there. COVID makes it difficult for people to get out, and so what we're doing is we're bringing the award to the recipients. So
Oh, man.
here you go. All right, now
When
here
did
we
that
go.
happen?
While you're formulating your speech, let me. Okay, says Ms. Stamps goes above and beyond to help anyone out. Is that correct? Yeah. She's very thoughtful and kind. She is simply amazing. Whenever I see Miss Stamps, she has a big smile behind her mask. Miss Stamps always has an encouraging word for the students and fellow staff members, and her positive attitude is so refreshing when many of us are just feeling beat. She's always up. And so, congratulations to Venus Middle School Teacher of the Month, Miss Lene Stamps.
Oh my gosh.
All right, let's give her a hand.
Congratulations.
We're very proud to announce in front of these students that she's working here.
Y'all get excited.
You have been selected as Venus Middle School Staff Member of the Month. So, because of the very work that you're doing right now with these kids. So, thank you so much. And what I'd like to do, all right, y'all pay attention here. Y'all ready? Yes. Okay, here we go. This says, I'm reading without my glasses. Miss Loretta Mitchell is new to our campus this year. She's been a blessing to our family. She cares about our students and makes every effort to make sure they all get the assistance that they need. She takes the time to know them by name and always has a smile on her face. We're very lucky that she is with us. I want y'all to give her a big hand, Miss Loretta Mitchell. So, thank you so much for all that you do.
Good afternoon. How are you guys doing? Good. Well, we wanted to come in and announce something new we're starting here at Venus, not coming in person, and recognize our Venus High School Student Month, and that would be Mr. Gore. Taylor Gore. Oh.
What?
Yes, sir. Come on up, man.
Yeah, the flowers and everything are at Kroger where I left them, so we're all good.
And
So,
Come on up
Second
here.
principal, okay? So, anyway, you have been nominated for, or you actually been voted for Student of the Month. This Taylor Gore is an amazing student, works hard, shows up every day, wants to be the very best trumpet player. He also is an asset all the way around into the band program. So, anyway, Taylor Gore, give this guy a big hand, man. There you go, buddy. All right?
What?
Let's get a mug shot. Let's get principals over here too. You guys get in there.
hang on, I gotta get to the next, wait.
It's going to be
is the teacher of the month at the high school. And I don't know what happened to the end of that video, but there's Miss Taylor Box.
Okay. All right.
Is that the end of it, Liz?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, that was, I got to tell you, that was just a lot of fun, just to be able to, and of course, it was a complete surprise to our teachers and our students as well. So a lot of fun. I think that's going to continue to grow. I think it's now going to become a competition as one of our principals. It's going to be a one-upmanship to see who produces the most bouquets and balloons and what have you. So anyway, thank you for indulging us in that.
Okay, we'll move to the next item, which is presentation of the annual Venus ISD property tax turnover report by Linebarger, our attorneys at law, and Stand Up for Texas Schools presentation. And Mr. Brady.
Hello. Good evening. How's everybody doing? Good. All right.
Hit the red button. Hit the button.
All right.
Oh, there we go.
How about that, right? So I'm the first person to use this. Hey. Yep. I'm going to put a sticker on this or something. No, the maiden voyage of this, like you said, it's a good report. It's a real good report. I said last year that given the turnover amounts and everything like that, that we could reasonably expect to be at about $250,000 of collections over the course of the year. COVID happened, and that kept our courts closed down for a little bit. They did everything like that. We met the goal pretty much anyway. So that worked out pretty good. COVID has not hit Johnson County and Ellis County quite as bad as it's hit every place else. I mean, this isn't quite the Metroplex. So we had some hiccups where we're talking about, where we had to do some distance things with the courts or whatever, but we were able to continue on pretty much uninterrupted in service. So first page there, you can see there that base tax collections were at 187,000, almost 188, plus penalty and interest collections. It was all very good, $221,150 dollars when you add in, when you take out the base tax refunds. But base tax refunds are basically what that is that when somebody argues their values, that they're not delinquent, but they have to pay what they think they owe at the beginning of the dispute process. And then when they win their arguments, they get a refund based on that. And so that comes out of your monthly allotment that goes to Mrs. Salazar so that she can distribute, and that goes against total collections. But overall, it was over $250,000 with that. Filed 55 lawsuits last year, which again, that's down. I think that we've got the expectation to where folks are starting to talk to us, starting to take care of the obligation without having to get, be the subject of a lawsuit, which I think is positive. And of those 55 lawsuits, they're almost all resolved. I mean, I thought that that was really good. You take a look at that, 41 resolved, 21 were dismissed by paid in full, which means we have 20 payment arrangements going with them. Suits that are in judgment, we had to take 7 judgments, but we're making payment arrangements on those. Non-suits, which is they paid it off in full and we just dismissed it all, that's out. And then we've released 7 of those judgments. So it was a really good process for that. And I think that we've gotten it to the point where folks would much rather call us than go through the whole issue. I mean, I do a letter series that's up there. I mean, there's 4 letters that go out to them from July on before we'll actually file a lawsuit most of the time. And that's kind of how that goes. Again, there's an explanation of what I just said on the 3rd page of the resolution of the suits and the judgments and kind of how that works. We've added the top 25 accounts that you can go over those, kind of on your own there. But again, we're not dealing with a whole lot of base accounts, with high base accounts here. There's nothing over $6,000. I think that's very positive. And of course, your TEA collection percentages are at the bottom there. Y'all are over 100%. In order to be guaranteed your full funding, your full allotment funding from the Texas Education Association, you got to be at 98 or higher. And y'all are well above that with penalty and interest collections. You're always at 100 and something percent, and that's a good number. There's the conclusion page. The next page after that is the roll analysis. Y'all are trending down, which I think is also really good. Last year, it was $188,000 in base tax. 2019 is, hold on. It's staying the same. It was 184,000, 182,000, and then 188,000. So it's about, your turnover in collections is about the same every year. From, just so that you know, the way that this works is that you're billed for your taxes in October. If you don't pay them by February of the next year, they go delinquent. And then if you don't pay them by 6 months after that, then it's turned over to the law firm to collect. So that number has maintained pretty much stagnant throughout that. I was thinking that it was at 182, but last year was 182. This year it's at 188. So it is up a little bit, but it's not up by much. It's still in the 180s, and you've been at the 180s for the last 3 years. All right, in the next page we have an analysis of the delinquent tax roll. Most of what we have is in lawsuit. Again, we have a big clean roll. Those clean accounts are the ones that we're making payments on, that folks are making payments on. We have a bunch of uncollectibles on there that we're working on the appraisal district to get taken care of. Those are things that are past the statute of limitations. Your deferral amounts. Folks that are over 65, fully disabled veterans, they have the right to claim a deferral on their accounts. Those numbers go down every year. You are not an aging community anymore. This is a community that's getting younger and is growing. There's rooftops going in and there's kids moving in, as you know, young families, that kind of thing. So that number is going down. We talked about bankruptcies last year, about how COVID could possibly affect all of those. Pretty stagnant. I mean, it's gone up some. I think last year you were in the teens and now it's 31,000, but nothing that's really horrible. There hasn't been a business that's gone out. We've had some Chapter 13 filings that we've had to manage for you, but it hasn't been anything huge. So that's good, and that means that folks have jobs and they can make their home payments, and that's a good thing. All right, there's a list of, on the next page you have a list of kind of what all of those means, what all those terms mean. And then the last page is kind of what I wanted to accentuate. When we first came in, it was like 5 years ago, and there was just so much mobile home debt from north of 67 up there, and it was just it was a tough thing. Mobile home debt is down significantly. You were in the $300,000 to $400,000 range, and now we're at 126. So there are a lot of people that are making those obligations go away. There's a lot of people paying, and then they're not being replaced with other mobile home debt. So, and that's very difficult, because it's difficult to collect on a mobile home, either because it'll move away or because it depreciates in value so significantly. Now, when you have good landowners and good pride of ownership, that's different. But a lot of times, if you're dealing with an old property or an old mobile home, lots of times that can be very difficult to collect. And that was a big mountain that we had to climb. And we've been focusing on that particularly. This board approved the sale of a mobile home a year and a half ago, and then we ended up having a bankruptcy filed on it. Well, it was finally sold at auction this past week, and it's been refitted and totally redone by the people that bought it, and it's turned into a nice place to live for people, and it's a place for families. So, all in all, we've met the goals that we wanted to meet. I think that this is a very good thing. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them, but it's been a very good collection year. And again, we like to do this every 6 months, so I'll be back in the spring around there to do this again. But if you have any questions, I'll entertain them. But good collection year, real good collection year. Yeah. All right. Well, and the most important thing is that if anybody comes to y'all with any questions about this, have them call us. I mean, this is not something, I'll work with anybody over things like this, especially if it involves jobs or whatever like this. The only thing that's bad is when they try to avoid it, because it doesn't go away and the interest doesn't go away, and that's the law. But we can do things to help people out. We can do things to put them into payment plans. So have them call me, and I'll be happy to deal with them. And of course, it's a pleasure to do business with y'all. Thank you so much for your business.
Thank you, Charles.
Mr. President,
Yes.
could I say something here, please? Could I say something here, please?
Sure.
On behalf of Venus ISD, we get the opportunity occasionally, and since Charles was going to be here tonight, we thought we would go ahead and just do this as well, to present recognition for standing up and supporting public schools in our community. This is Stand Up for Texas Public Schools Award, and it's got a little pin here and also a certificate we'd like to present to Linebarger's attorneys at law, Mr. Charles Brady.
Thank you so much. That is so nice. Wow. And it's a pin and everything.
Yeah, we expect you to wear it next time.
I'm gonna.
Okay. So, all right. Once again, we really appreciate the job these guys do, because they make sure that we're sound in every way. So thank you, Charles.
Thank you so much. This is really something. Thank you so much. I mean, and to see all of the wonderful work that y'all do, and that I get to be just a little part of that makes my heart feel good. And if I can be of service in any way, let me know. Thank you. This is wonderful. Happy to do it. Happy to do it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, I'll hold up the thing here. Lose the.
Oh, we're getting to it. You gonna let me do this?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
All right. Thank you so much. This is so nice. All right. May I be excused, Mr. President?
Sure may.
All right. Y'all have a good night. Be blessed. All right.
Okay. This time we will go to opportunity for public comment, including any item on the agenda. And Mr. Clopton would like to speak on Venus ISD rules.
May it please the board, my name is John Benjamin Clopton Jr., reside at 810 South FM 157. My wife and I are candidates for the upcoming board election. The first rule I'm very disappointed about is the notice that you all sent out or voted on to move the election that's posted right out here on the bulletin board is only signed by you, Mr. President, and it's not signed by the secretary. And that's the most important place for it to be. Second, when I received my copy, Ms. Clopton and I did receive copies, they were redacted. They were blacked out, redacted. Then I wrote an open records request to Mr. Superintendent here, and he sent me a copy, and both signatures were there. But I'm really puzzled that a signed copy is not on the board. That's very bad. Second, I'm seeing signs all over the city and the district where candidates are putting their election signs out in the public right of way. Police are doing absolutely nothing about it, like last time. They hold a dumb ear and just deaf and dumb. Next, I'd like to talk a little bit about the rule. It changed to 3 minutes for this comment. I thought we had 5 minutes. I didn't know that had changed. Then I would like to discuss a little bit about rules on the property behind our property, which is an old International Great Northern Railroad right-of-way that was acquired by the school, and we understood it was supposed to be a walkway track, a place to walk. Somebody down here have led prominent citizens that they can let their kids go up there and run their motorbikes. Very bad. If it's designated as a walk trail, the transportation code does not allow, any police officer knows this, like in Burleson where they made the property into a trail, you can't use it to motorize. The only motorized vehicles permitted would be the police, first responders, emergency type vehicles, and so forth. Maintenance of the back trail. It's not meant to be a motorized motorcycle, three-wheeler, four-wheeler, all of that, and especially other vehicles. But they've got approval from someone up here. And I met about a month ago with Mr. Moore, and he was going to check into it, and I haven't heard. And is my 3 minutes up? I know it's not very long. Okay. I really do object to that. It sends a message to me that y'all don't want public comment, to change that rule. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Clegg. Okay. We'll move to item number 7, the consent agenda, which is item A, approve previous month's board minutes. Item B, approve student outcome goals 1 and 2 and the associated goal progress measures. Would anyone like these taken off of the consent agenda to discuss? Okay.
I make a motion that we approve this consent agenda as presented.
I have a motion by Greg,
Second.
second by Deborah. All in favor? All in favor, none opposed, motion passes. Okay, we'll go to item 8, which is the annual. You gotta forget that. Somebody's gotta watch this red light. Okay. We will, the annual announcement of Venus ISD Board of Trustees continuing education hours. Under the State Board of Education rules, completing required continuing education each year of service is a basic obligation and expectation of any sitting board member. As board president, I am required to announce the name of each member who is, as of the member's anniversary of election or appointment to the board, has completed the required continuing education, has exceeded the required continuing education and is deficient in meeting the required continuing education. There are 4 tiers of categories of board members' continuing education. Tier 1, local district orientation, basic legal orientation, and legal update training. Tier 2, team building training with all board members and the superintendent. Tier 3, annual continuing education. And Tier 4, evaluating and improving student outcomes. To the extent applicable to the board members under the legal requirements for 4 tiers, I will announce completion or deficiency as to required training. For members who still have time remaining to complete required training, I will announce those board members who have scheduled timely training and those who have not yet scheduled a training. At the conclusion of this announcement, I will announce any board members' training in excess of continued education requirements. Okay. Tier 1, orientation and legal update training. The following first-year board members have completed the Tier 1 local district orientation. Katie, and I can't pronounce that last name. All right, sounds good. And Chad Sutton, that's place 5, and Chad Sutton, place 3. Okay, basic orientation training. The following year, first-year board members have completed the Tier 1 basic orientation training regarding to Texas Education Code and relevant legal obligations. Katie, place 5. Chad Sutton, place 3. Legal update training. The following board members have completed a Tier 1 legal update to the Texas Education Code and relevant legal developments after the most recent legislative sessions. Gerald Leonard, place 1. Deborah Cruz, place 2. Chad Sutton, place 3. Les Owens, place 4. Katie, place 5. Gregory Hoffman, place 6. Linda Taylor, place 7. And James Hopper, superintendent. Tier 2, team building training. The following board members have completed the required team building training. Gerald Leonard, place 1. Deborah Cruz, place 2. Chad Sutton, place 3. Les Owens, place 4. Katie, place 5. Gregory Hoffman, place 6. Linda Taylor, place 7. And James Hopper, superintendent. Tier 3, annual continuing education. The following board members have completed the Tier 3 continuing education requirements. Gerald Leonard, place 1. Deborah Cruz, place 2. Chad Sutton, place 3. Les Owens, place 4. And Katie, place 5. Gregory Hoffman, place 6. And Linda Taylor, place 7. And James Hopper, superintendent. Tier 4, evaluating and improving student outcomes training. The following board members have completed required training on evaluating and improving student outcomes. Gerald Leonard, place 1. Deborah Cruz, place 2. Chad Sutton, place 3. Les Owens, place 4. Katie, place 5. Gregory Hoffman, place 6. Linda Taylor, place 7. And James Hopper, superintendent. And that concludes the board training hours. Katie, I got to learn to pronounce your last name. We'll have to spend a few minutes doing that. All right, let's move on to the next item, which is student growth performance update by Dr. Morgan.
Hello, everyone. So I wanted to talk with you about our initial beginning of year data that we have received from our MAP growth testing, which I know we've talked about a few times. So if you want to move on to slide 2, you can see where the MAP growth data, what is that telling us? So we have talked about needing to get a good idea of where our students are as far as the knowledge and skills that they have learned and what they're still developing in relation to where they should be at their grade level. So the MAP growth data tells us where students are, what they need to learn. It gives us starting points for their individual student growth. It tells us which students need intervention, which is that extra support outside of their regular classroom instruction. It also tells us which students need extension. So those students who are performing at or above grade level who need to be pushed and challenged even more. It also is going to help us think about the specific concepts and skills to focus on for different units, and that goes along with our curriculum. And then finally, it gives us an idea of what instructional strategies that we need to be helping our teachers with. So all of those things work together, and the MAP growth testing system is a very robust system that allows us to get a glimpse into all of these different areas. So on the next slide, you can see this is just a snapshot of where we are at the beginning of this assessment venture. So please keep in mind, this is, for the most of us, this is our first time using MAP growth. So there have been a lot of bumps as we've tried to figure it out. We had a major challenge with having about half of our students at home instead of in the classroom, trying to get those students tested. So we're missing a lot of data from our online students. So just if you're wondering why the numbers look a little bit lower. So our principals and our campus staffs have done an amazing job trying to get the online students tested. They've opened testing windows. They've given students options. They've invited them to come to campus. And so they've done a really good job of trying to get as much data as we can just across the board. But what you can see here is that when we are looking at the average RIT score for each grade level, so let me just pause there and talk about what a RIT score is. So the acronym RIT, R-I-T, stands for something that nobody really remembers what it stands for. We could get into the research behind it, and most of us would just look at each other with confusion. So the RIT score, what that is the, it's like the tape measure. It's just that growth measurement, and it's a numbered scale. So it's from 0 to into the 200 range. And what that is showing us how many points that a student got on the test based on the questions that they were given and their responses. It comes out to a numerical score, which is their RIT score. And so that's anywhere, again, from 0 to 200. And we use the national norm data to help us recognize what is the average, where should a student be at a specific grade level at a specific time in the year. And so that national norm, all that's doing for us is telling us, okay, so for third graders, all of the third graders in the country who were tested, this is like the bell curve, right? And so we can see from our third graders that our bell curve should match the national bell curve. But what our data is showing us is that we're just a little bit behind. So, for example, our 2nd through 9th grade English reading, our average RIT score is just about 4 points below the national norm. And so if you put our bell curve up against the national norm bell curve, we're just a little bit off. And so what we want to do is just decrease that gap so ours matches the national norm. If you look at the next slide, you can see just in bars, ours is the blue, the national is the red. We're not that far behind. So it's just a smidge just across the board. But that tells us that we have some growth. And we all knew that going into this year. We knew that was the case. And so this is just giving us a more accurate look at what we need to focus on to help our students grow in the specific areas where some of them are struggling. But it also tells us that some of our students are exceeding the grade level expectations and are doing really well. So it's giving us a really good picture of all of the students. On the next slide, you should see the Spanish reading And so we tested our kindergarten, first and second grade bilingual students in Spanish. So you can see how they're doing compared to other Spanish speaking students in those grade levels. And our kindergarten and first Spanish speaking students are doing really well. They're actually above the national norm. So that's really great. And so our teachers our bilingual teachers are just amazing, and they're working with those kids to keep pushing them. And what we really want to do is to develop their biliteracy, which means not just teaching them to read in Spanish and then letting that stop. We want to keep developing their literacy in Spanish while we also develop their literacy in English. So that's what our bilingual teachers are doing with those kiddos. And then the next slide is our math scores. So again, just a smidge behind the national norm, but we're doing okay. And we've got lots of things in place, which I'm going to show you in a minute. And then on the next slide is another way to look at the data. And when you hear principals report on their campus data, they will probably talk in this language. So we take that RIT score, and based on all of those national averages, each student falls into a percentile. So when you took your kids to the doctor when they were babies, or your grandkids, and they weigh them and they measure their height, and then you look at the chart, the norm chart, and everyone's so excited to see that their baby's in, the 75th percentile or the 99th percentile. That's exactly what this chart is showing us. So what we can see here is that about a quarter of our students are in the bottom 5th, the bottom 20th percentile, so the bottom quintile. And about 7 to 11% of them, 7% in math, 11% in reading, are in the top quintile. So you can just see where our students are falling on that percentile spectrum. And so again, the goal is thinking about that bell curve. We want to have fewer kids in the bottom, and we'll naturally have fewer kids in the top. Most of the kids should fall kind of in the middle. And so that's what we want to do, is start moving some of the students who are in the bottom quintile, start moving them up so that they are more in the average where they should be. And then some of those kids who are performing in the yellow and the green band there, some of them are not performing as strong as they should be. And so they need to be pulled up. And then also those kids who are already in the top quintile, we're asking the question, what are we doing for them? Are we challenging them? Are we growing them? So just because they're performing at or above grade level doesn't mean they don't have room to grow. And so on the next slide, you can see these are the strategies and some of the interventions we've already put into place. So over the past couple of years, we have asked the board to approve a lot of things, and just want to thank you all again for approving those things. So just for example, we've implemented the TEKS resource system for curriculum, which is holding everyone to a slightly higher standard of expectations and keeping everyone aligned. We've asked for a kindergarten through 5th grade reading coach. And so this is our second year having a coach. And our coach this year, her name is Stacy Izquierdo, and she's doing a phenomenal job helping our kindergarten through 5th grade teachers really understand how to use a small group setting to help our students improve in reading. We've got training from the service center, helping our teachers be able to put structures in place to really help our students. We have at the middle school, we've added a 6th grade reading class and a 7th grade reading and writing class to give teachers more time with those students so that they can meet them and build the skills. So just so many things that we've been able to put into place. And so now that the data is really helping us, like now we can rock and roll and we can really start, you'll see momentum and you're going to see growth. And then on the last slide is what we have in place for math. And so we have a math curriculum coordinator, and that is Mrs. Wisden Haddad, who has been in the district forever. And she is helping all of our math teachers really understand what it is that we need to be teaching each year, how does it need to look, and helping everyone stay on the same page with that and pushing the teachers to push the students. We've introduced adaptive computer software in reading and in math to help fill in some of those gaps that the students have, especially due to COVID and being out for so long. So that computer program is really helping. Our teachers are also working on guided math, just like guided reading, which means they're just working with students where they need to be and to help develop the skills that the students need. So we've got a lot of things in place for reading and math, and we're really excited about where we're going with it. Any questions?
Without getting too far into the weeds, I'm a little bit curious about, well, about when we do the map testing, how can you dumb down, my bad. So when we do the map testing, I was a little bit curious about how objective or subjective is putting those responses into numbers?
That's a really great question. And so NWEA map growth has been around for 40 some years. And so they've done a lot of testing, a lot of research into it. I don't begin to pretend to understand all the algorithms behind what's happening. But when the students are taking the test, so based on what test we give them, it gives them the first question. And then based on their response, it starts on them on a path of questions that it's either going to go higher or lower. And so the goal of the test, it's not like a test we're used to in school where we're trying to get them all right. The system is actually trying to level them out where they get about half right and half wrong, because it's trying to see what do they know that they can get right and what do they not know, so they're going to get it wrong. And so what will happen is a student will get one right, and then it'll give them a slightly harder one. They might get that one right, it gives them another one. They might get that wrong. And so based on that wrong response, it's going to give them a question that's maybe right at the same level, maybe a little bit lower. And so based on that pathway of questions, how that equals that RIT score, that's where you probably need a mathematician genius to help explain it. And I really don't understand how it works, but that's how we get that final score. So it's based on how many they get right and which ones they get right, and it gives us that number at the end of it.
So it's pretty much been empirically tested enough to be a solid assessment.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. And if we went to their website, we could pull up a number of research studies that would have all of the, like, what kind of tests they ran and what data they used and what data points and how many students they tested, et cetera, et cetera. And again, going back over 40 years. And so probably every couple of years, they'll do a new test, and they're always studying their data to make sure that what they're promising is in fact what they're delivering.
Thank you, Dr. Martin.
Yep.
Any other questions? Thank you, Dr. Morgan.
Welcome.
Okay, we'll go to item 10, bilingual ESL annual report. Mrs. Roden.
Good evening, Mr. Owens, members of the board.
I can see your mouth moving, but I can't hear you.
Can you hear us, Miss Roden?
I can.
Oh, okay. We can hear you now.
You can? All right. That's great. All right. I believe Mrs. Screw, what I had said when you couldn't hear me was, good evening, Mr. Owens, other members of the board, Mr. Hopper, and other people that are present at tonight's board meeting. Mrs. Screw will be manning the computer and advancing the slides on my PowerPoint as we go through the next few minutes. Every year before November 1, I'm given the opportunity and the responsibility from TEA to bring an annual report to the board on behalf of the bilingual ESL programs. And I think this is a good place for me to say thank you to Dr. Morgan for bringing the information that our bilingual students, although there is always room for improvement, that they have scored on the MAP reading test in Spanish above the national average. And it is because of the wonderful bilingual teachers that we have in our district. And I'm very proud of those results, as well as very proud of those teachers. Ms. Greer, on the second slide, we'll just see information about the disaggregation of students throughout the district and throughout the programs. And you will see those bar graphs that show you the LEP students and how many of the students are in bilingual programs. Here in kindergarten through grade 5, I'm not sure why pre-K didn't populate, but last year there were 16 students in bilingual pre-K, and this year there are 10. And then you'll see the ESL students that we serve from pre-K through grade 12. The next slide is a slide about the distribution of English learners compared to other students in the district. And we have right at 26% on the day this slide was made of our students in Venus Independent School District are parts of our bilingual or ESL programs. 8% bilingual, ESL 17%. And the parent denial 1%, there are about 4 families whose students are eligible for bilingual or ESL services who, for reasons of their choice, choose not to have their students served by the program. So that's the definition of denial. I can't bring you any STAR or EOC results from 2019-20 as we weren't able to test because of COVID. But the next slide will give you our spring TELPAS results, remembering that TELPAS is a system that both the federal and state government require in addition to testing the bilingual and ESL students' ability to master content via the STAR test. The TELPAS assessment shows their growth in acquiring the English language. And that would be in 4 domains: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And I know this slide on the big screen is probably pretty grainy, but in your board packet, you can see, looking from left to right, the red areas are beginners, the orange areas are intermediates, the green areas are students who are advanced, and then the bluish purple area would be the students that are advanced high. And so as you can see here, in many instances, our students hit that advanced level in the green color, and they're stuck there for a bit, because to be advanced high, they must perform at or near the level of their peers who learned English from birth instead of Spanish from birth. But we work with our teachers, challenging them to use strategies that focus on the English language proficiency standards. And our students continue to make progress every year from left to right. On the next slide, I've listed some of the strategies that we're implementing to improve that TELPAS performance. At the campus level, campus administrators are monitoring lesson plans for the inclusion of those English language proficiency standards and sheltered instruction strategies in the lesson plans of the teachers. And also, this year, those of us who do walkthroughs are going to be looking for the use of these strategies that focus on the ELPs during the walkthroughs. And at the district level, it's my responsibility to meet with the PLCs once per month, every grade level, every department on each of the 4 campuses, to facilitate the implementation of the 2 books that I've listed here, that are 2 excellent sources of the sheltered instruction strategies that we'll be looking for. And I believe as we look at our district plan, these things are going to be embedded there as well. Our program model design on the next slide for bilingual is dual language one way, and that is currently in grades pre-K through 2. We had hoped to advance that one more level to grade 3 this year, but with COVID and so many of our students learning virtually from home, it was not a good year to have a change in programming in grade 3. So grades 3, 4, and 5 are still in the model that Venus has implemented for the last 10 to 15 years, which is the transitional bilingual early exit. The reason that I'm bringing this to your attention is because as we move forward with the program, the reports that you receive annually in years to come will look a little bit different than the one that you're seeing tonight, and certainly a lot different than the ones that you have seen in the past. Program model and design is just one piece of what we'll be reporting on. The second piece is staffing and professional development, which includes how we recruit, how we assign teachers, and how we retain teachers. The next slide, very quickly, just shows some of the professional development that we have done over the past year. And this is a group of teachers that went to the Bilingual Educators Association of the Metroplex Conference. We do professional development with regions 10, 11, and 13 through Texas A&M. Our district level training that was referred to in the previous slide, coaching. All of our administrators and coaches have been trained in a coaching model via Region 11 that we'll be using for all teachers, and then sheltered instruction, which are the strategies in the 2 books that I've referenced previously. I believe that the third piece to the puzzle is instructional design, lesson planning, and curriculum. And you heard a lot last year about the TEACS resource system, and that is our method for planning lessons and curriculum. And that TEACS resource system also includes all of the tools needed for the Spanish reading language arts as well. And the fourth piece to the puzzle on the next slide is instructional design. What methods and resources are we providing for our teachers? And in this instance, our focus in Venus is on sheltered instruction, specifically the book Talk, Read, Talk, Write by Nancy Motley that we have been working on for a year and a half prior to this school year beginning. I keep referring to sheltered strategies, so the next couple of slides are going to show in action some of our students using sheltered strategies. One is covers listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And this is a student in the first grade doing an individual presentation to the class on something that he has written. So the students who are his audience are practicing their listening skills. He's practicing his speaking skills, his reading skills, and he has already written to be able to be prepared for the presentation. Here is another first grade example on the next slide of students using manipulatives to master math content. This strategy is part of Turn and Talk. The students have had a mini lesson, and then they are allowed to work together with manipulatives and to discuss the problems that their teachers are asking them to complete. Finally, the fifth piece of that dual language puzzle is family and community engagement. And the things that we have done in the past year were Latino family literacy. We've had parent nights, and hopefully this year, but for sure the next year, Mr. Moore and I are planning to form a committee this November to start preparation for a really big Cinco de Mayo community celebration, as I said, when COVID is over. So each 5 of those pieces to the dual language puzzle, although just introduced this year, starting next year, we will rate each area from 0 to 5 based on what step of implementation we have reached for the dual language program. And for some of them, we may be at the very basic level, but we'll certainly be moving from 0 to 5 over a period of years as we add 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade to the program. And then the final slide, which you also have in your board packet, just shows what the pieces are to each one of the headings that I have presented to you: the program model design, the staffing, the instructional design, the instructional materials, and the family and community engagement. So I believe that is the end of the PowerPoint, and I would be happy to try to answer any questions that you might have.
Now you can hear me. Ms.
Yes,
Rhodes,
sir.
I don't think there's any questions. I think you've done a really good job explaining it.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move to item number 11, consider approval of custodial contract. Michelle?
We're in our 5th addendum to ABM, and we've always had a kind of an off cycle because of when we started our contract, and so we're going to try to get that back on track. And this is our last addendum, and we will be getting quotes or taking it for bid or something this spring to be able to follow the purchasing procedures correctly. But this term will run from November the 1st through June 30th. And so it'll be an 8-month term at our same cost And Jason is here with ABM if you all have any questions. But we're just asking you all to approve an 8-month contract for now.
This is an 8-month
Yes.
contract instead of a 12.
Yes.
But once we reach the June, we'll approve one for 12 months.
Another one for a regular 12-month contract.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Right, we're just trying to get this,
Trying to get back onto a normal cycle where you would change over if there was any change, you would do it in the summertime instead of in October and November.
All your, my only question is, have all your concerns been addressed?
yes, we met with Jason, we met with his, with Jesus, and these guys have been responsive in taking care of a lot of those things. And so we will be addressing those moving forward as well. So.
Okay.
Any more questions?
I'll make a motion that we approve the contract as presented to us.
You got to turn your mic on.
I make a motion that we approve the contract as presented to us.
We have a motion by Greg,
Second.
second by Katie. All in favor? All in favor, none opposed, motion passes. Okay, item number 12, consider approval of district and campus improvement plans. Mr. Moore and principals.
Correct. Mr. Moore is going to kind of ride shotgun on this one, I believe. Mr. Moore, are you with us?
Yes, sir. You got me?
We do
got you.
indeed.
Loud and clear.
Well, guess what? It's been a wonderful board meeting simply because of the addition of the microphones. And when they're turned on, I can hear you in Indiana. One of the things that we had to look at when we were developing the campus and the district plan is the simple fact that STAR didn't exist. And with the new map testing and the importance of student data and measuring that data, some of the adjustments that we made in the district plan and in the campus plans was to simply address that. We have a big question mark where STAR is concerned. Should it return and we get that data, that will also be included. But if you look at the district plan and all the plans except for the high school is limited on the map testing, but all the other campuses use that data to make adjustments as far as their student performance and the measures that they're going to take that will resemble the student outcome goals in the Lone Star governance piece. And a lot of it will relate to some of the information that Dr. Morgan gave you earlier as far as RIT scores and improving our students' performance in that regards. And so that was a major adjustment for us to look at in forming the district plan and the campus plans, and being a living and breathing document. As we move into the spring, as things change, we'll adjust and modify and move forward from there. Any thoughts, questions, or concerns in that regards?
I don't think so.
And any of the campus principals that want to chime in on their specific plans, feel so to do so.
Hey, Hollis.
Yes, sir.
I have one question. Now,
Okay.
Next month at the regular board meeting, we're going to get an update on this.
Yes.
Okay.
As we gather more data that makes it more precise in the direction that we want to head for our student performance. And, what we have initially is just preliminary data, and some of that is incomplete due to the whole at-home COVID situation. But as we gather more data and get more specifics in that regards, then we can be much more precise as far as where we set our levels for student performance moving forward.
So we'll be able to will you have enough data to give a report next month?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We will also follow up with a, excuse me, quarterly reports in January, April, and July. So we'll be seeing this again.
Okay, sounds good. Anything else, Hollis?
That's it for now.
All right. Anybody have any more questions for Hollis? All right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, we'll move to item 13, consider approval of purchase and placement fees of portable buildings.
Okay. Excuse me. Yes, we do. Of number 12.
Okay. All right. I have a motion on number 12.
I'll make a motion on number 12, consider approval of district
Second.
campus improvement.
We have a motion by Chad, a second by Linda. All in favor? All in favor, none opposed, motion passes. Okay, now we can go to 13.
Well, you know that we've been looking at portable buildings for some time, and last year we actually toured some buildings that were available, we thought were available up in another school district, and so those since became unavailable. And then literally just late last week, we got a phone call and said, "Hey, if you guys are still interested, you could come take a look at them." Well, so we did, and we got some photographs up here that that Liz is going to show. So some of us went up. We took, excuse me, Ronnie and Daryl, a couple of our maintenance guys, up there to look at these portable buildings. The ones that we're looking at, these 6 buildings, are all located on the same site, of course, and this middle school up in Mansfield. And they all have metal roofs. Now, excuse me, they're in various states of, most of them are in pretty good shape, actually. Some of those portable buildings are, now they've been there since, I believe they said, what was it, 98? Is that right?
97 to 99.
Right, 97 to 99. And so we see that they're, a little bit older than 20 years old. They're all dry buildings. Each of them have 2 classrooms. So with 6 of those, that'd be a total of 12 classrooms. And for the cost of removing the buildings and bringing them down here, and then just cleaning up the site, we can have those buildings. So we are still seeking some estimates on exactly what that will cost. So I'm talking with about 4 different vendors at this point, and they're considering the mileage, and we're going to get different aspects of it, the buildings, as far as whether they did would do the ramps or we did them, and so forth. So now this is the first site that we went to, and let me clarify. This one, this building is, we actually looked at a total of 8 buildings. The first 2 buildings we think might have had a little bit of termite damage, and so they're very, very questionable as whether we wanted to be involved in those buildings. And this looks like it's one of those buildings. Now, the reason you have this picture is because they also said any of this electrical equipment that you would like, you may have, we're simply going to throw it away. Now, we will have to check and see what is allowed as far as code is concerned with the city. We certainly we are not going to use something that would be dangerous in any way, and certainly not going to violate code. But anyway, that's possibly also. So here are some of those 6 buildings that are side by side. Metal buildings, on the metal coverings, I should say. This is typical, and so you see the joint there in the middle, and this is a roll type of carpet. And you see the vintage faux wood grain paneling. So it's highly fashionable at one time. And so this one is interesting. It is there's another window there right beside that. A couple of openings that have been cut. So connecting those two rooms, I thought that was an interesting one, but that's the only one that has that arrangement. Again, just some random pictures of some of these buildings. Now, some of them are full of equipment and things. This is one where they did replace the roll carpet with the squares, and that's actually in pretty good shape. Just need to clean it up. There's some fire alarm equipment that is coming with some of those buildings, and that would actually save us a lot of money as well. Just again shows you the outside of them. Some of them have no overhang, no awning over them, like these right here. And then these obviously do. So I think there are 3 of them that have that awning like that. One has a little bit of a piece of an awning. So, but that kind of gives you a real quick overview of of what we saw. So as far as a timeline is concerned, basically whenever we can work things out and start moving them, that works for them. They do have other portable buildings that I think they're going to release a few at a time. That's what they were saying, and so there may be a possibility of others in the future, but we're not going to beat this price. So one of the things we talked about doing, one of the things we talked about doing was getting approval for for spending about $60,000 to begin with on these buildings, because we're estimating it's going to take give or take about $10,000 to move these things and get them set up. It may take a little bit more than that, but that's still otherwise these buildings are going to cost $60,000 a piece. So, any questions on the portable buildings? I'm sorry?
We don't have an exact price on the moving them?
We do not. I've again, we actually just looked at these buildings on Friday, and so I've called, and they're looking at their figures, and each one of them I expect I will have something by the end of the week.
Okay.
I think my only question is, what can we think about as far as the longevity of these buildings versus our actual need as a district? What do you best think at this point? I know we're...
Which one of those? Our need or their longevity? Both?
Yeah.
Realistically, I think we can, the buildings are in good shape. I'm not going to tell you they're excellent. I'm not going to tell you they're bad. They're in good shape. So they should last at least another 10, 15 years, which I expect I would certainly hope would exceed any need that we have. I would say that we should expect to get 10 years out of these buildings of use as far as our need is concerned, but that's going to be driven by growth. That's going to be driven by our ability to meet our other facility needs. But I don't see why we can't get another 10, 15 years out of these buildings easily. And again, there's no plumbing in these buildings, just dry buildings, and they're kept out of the weather. So there's one of them that has a little bit of subflooring damage that we'll just need to cut it out and replace that piece. Other than that, they seem to be all sound. We didn't see any other problems.
And then I guess we would probably be interested in looking at a wet building to provide potties for the children's.
It's interesting, I think that that is going to be driven by the number of portables we have, and only time will tell what that need is going to be. I do think that what happens is it's not so much a distance from the students from the restrooms. What's going to happen is if we get enough students occupying these portables where we are significantly overloading the restroom facilities in the building, that's when we take a look at getting restrooms. I think that what we do is we look at each one of these sites that we might consider for these portables and ensure that we can have access should we decide to put in sewer, water for those buildings.
Okay, so not the most immediate of needs.
That's exactly right. Yes,
Perfect.
ma'am.
Thank you.
I got a question. When was the last time these were used for Mansfield? Have they just been out of service for a year, 2, 3?
I don't know that I think it's, I don't know exactly, Chad. I didn't ask them that question. But I think it's been a few years.
2 to 3 years.
2 to 3 years?
You should know.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like I said,
They were
my-
using those buildings on and off before I left there.
Okay.
They look like it's been fairly recent, but I didn't nail him down on that question.
Right. My concern was like hers. I mean, I'm expecting we would have to need to get at least 10 years or so, and these are really old buildings, and you know, I think it's a good deal. We can get them on the cheap. Just concerned about the longevity. Have they reached their service? I mean, obviously we can go through the replace flooring and yeah. Well, that's yeah.
Well, and one of the things we've done too is, again, these are 6. We actually looked at 8, and we feel like the other 2 probably would fall into that area of concern as far as, are they really worth moving and setting up? And they may well be, but there was enough question there. I mean, you could clearly see that there were some issues with these buildings.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want them to fall apart as they were being transported because of termite damage or something, just start crumbling, but.
Okay, anyone have any more questions on the portables?
Yeah, I do got, the size of these, is it gonna be, or the length, say, for instance, if you're putting them at the middle school, I mean, in the space that we were talking about, are they gonna work for that space?
Yes, sir. These are, and they're all pretty much standard, but I did measure these out, and typically you find 64 feet. These appear to be just a couple of feet. I mean, they appear to be like 68 feet, but they're 28 feet wide, and so yes, they will fit where we expect to put them.
So for this, you're just gonna have 2 side by side, or can you 2 deep, or?
I think the best way to do this, and this is something that we can kind of talk about as we go forward, but I think side by side would be the best way to do that. Over at the middle, pardon me. Given that there are 6 of them, right. If we could put 2 at the middle school, 2 at the high school, and 2 at elementary, I think that would be that would serve us. That would really get us pretty far along, as far as meeting our needs for right now.
Okay. Any more questions? Anybody like to make a motion?
Well, my only last question, like I said, I'd be nice to kind of know, what were the cost for these buildings now? We don't have that yet?
It's not a cost.
It's not just the cost of transport. We don't know that yet. It's just a move. Okay.
Right now, are we just approving an up to for the moment? Okay.
Right. Yeah, we're approving $60,000, and now that might get taken up over the course of this, but I expect 10, maybe 12,000, to move these things and set them up, and some of that work we'll be doing ourselves. So I will be talking to them about getting an itemized list. Here's what it's going to take to move this thing, and just set it here, level it. And then we have to look at what we can do ourselves, what we can do in-house. Excuse me. Would it be worth it, in other words, to us to have them go ahead and set up the ramps and et cetera, or do we want to have our guys do that in-house? So that's where we'll do I'll have them break those costs out so we can make those decisions.
So the amount is up to 60,000. That's okay. All right, I'll make the motion to approve the purchase portable buildings not to exceed 60,000.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Chad, a second by Katie. All in favor?
Excuse me, sir. May I clarify, it's technically not the purchase, but it is the placement. So that involves the moving. Yes, sir.
Let me clarify my motion. I motion to approve the removal, the placement of the portable buildings not to exceed up to 60,000.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All in favor? All in favor, none opposed, motion passes. Now, if there's no objection, we will go to item 15 before 14. Consider approval of capital projects, transfer of funds to general operating.
This is a request to move capital projects transfer to general fund. Yes. Sure, I'll come over here. I recommend that you all approve the transfer of $53,987.93 plus any interest that's accumulated during this month from capital projects fund balance and the interest earned this school year to the general fund. The general fund transferred $550,000 into the capital projects in April of 2019 to cover the balance that we owed that were over on the projects for capital projects of our last construction. And all of the projects are now completed. So to be able to move the money back into general fund would just require you all approving that, since the money that we put over there was over the amount of the $53,000. So basically, it was general fund money originally that went over there to help offset some of the bond cost. And so there's still money left over from POG that issued us a refund check. And it was all put back into the capital projects account. So this will help with the buildings. Yes, that was put over there. So we moved over, our bond was for $3 million. And so that plus the $550,000 that we moved over just to kind of help in the project to get it paid off. We had this amount of money left over. So now we can move it, and it's for a good cause.
I'll make the motion that we approve the capital projects transfer of funds to general operating.
Second.
I have a motion by Katie, a second by Linda. All in favor? In favor, none opposed, motion passes. Okay, now we'll go to item 14, consider approval of budget amendment.
Okay, so you'll see on the general fund budget amendment that I'm rounding that $53,000 amount up into transfers in for $54,000. So hopefully we'll get a little bit more interest and it'll bump it to $54,000. We need the $60,000 in function 81 to be able to cover the the moving cost of the portables. So I'm taking $6,000 out of facilities maintenance to be able to cover that entire cost. Any questions?
I'll make a motion that we approve the budget amendment as presented to us.
I'll second it.
I have a motion by Greg, a second by Chad. All in favor? All in favor, none opposed, motion passes. Okay. Now we will go to item 16. Executive session for 551072, 551074, and 551076 at 8:36. Okay, everybody back? We will skip item 20 since there's no personnel to approve, and go to item 21, consider approval of longevity pay in November.
Which item number is that, sir?
Say that again?
It's number 21.
That's 21. We didn't have any personnel to approve on 20, so we just,
Yeah.
Well, go ahead, sir.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I was gonna make a motion to approve the longevity pay as presented.
I will second that motion.
we have a motion by Chad, a second by Katie. All in favor? All in favor, none opposed, motion passes. Okay. Now we will go to reports, superintendent report.
So you can see what the the enrollment is. We have 2202 as of October the 1st. Last year at this time we had 2183. Our numbers continue to climb, and that's not a surprise. So anyway, we expect that to continue. We currently still have about 27%, 26% students online, and that's one of the things that we want to address probably in a soon board meeting, as far as what to do with that. One of the big concerns that we had, as we voiced in our called board meeting, we talked about students who are having some attendance issues and also some grade issues with online instruction. We're not alone in this. This is the situation across the state of Texas. Schools have had some requirements that students come back on campus, and some schools have stipulated even that those school districts, or some school districts have even stipulated that those students who are failing or having difficulty would be the ones that were required to come back on campus. Our commissioner came out last Thursday and stated that you can certainly require all students to come back on campus, but you could not stipulate that only struggling students were to come back on campus. And so that came out late Thursday. So that's something that we're all struggling with at this point. But I'd like to, for the board to maybe even consider, it's not an action item tonight, but something we can talk about, possibly scheduling a board meeting even as early as next Monday to discuss this in detail and see what direction Venus ISD wants to take in response to this. Again, our concern is student achievement and what is taking place as far as learning. What we don't want our students to do is to get so far behind that they cannot catch up. And the concern right now, not just with our district, but those across the state, is that is exactly what's taking place. So schools are trying to get those students back on campus as soon as possible. You know, we've operated, I think, pretty efficiently so far by giving parents as much flexibility as possible, and certainly letting them have the respect of being able to make the decisions that are most necessary and expedient for their own households. But at the same time, at this point, we need to make sure that our kids don't fall so far behind academically that they simply cannot catch up. And we don't want to do anything that's going to aggravate or increase or cause, I guess I should say, a dropout issue. We haven't had a dropout issue, and we certainly don't want to start one. So that's something that I would like to possibly set as a board meeting date for maybe even next Monday, to make some decisions and have some open discussion about that. So.
Okay.
What would be the date of it?
Yes, that is the 26th. Yes, ma'am.
7?
Is that correct, the 26th? It is, yes, ma'am, the 26th at 7 o'clock. I've checked Mr. Leonard's schedule, and he's off.
Any questions on the superintendent's report? All right, we'll go to chief financial report.
So we've got, the cash position report. Get it up. Yeah, the financial reports. And, ready? Yeah. At the end of September, or do you want me? We're good. I don't need it that often. Okay, cash position report at the end of September. We have $8,530,772 with $7,920,360 in investments, not in the regular bank account. The next page should be our general fund financial statement. We have in excess of revenues of $539,431. Our child nutrition is the next page, and we have $5,028 in excess of revenues. And then the last page of that is the debt service fund, and we've just collected some revenues, and it's $7,926. We're not into collecting our normal taxes just yet. The bulk of them will be in December and January. The next page is just an overview of the revenue sources, so you can see that majority of our revenue is through our state funding. And then our expenditure by area, so you can see that instruction is definitely our largest at 54%. And it should be. That's what we're here for, is the kiddos. Any questions on those reports? Did anybody have any questions on the check register? Okay, now I have the quarterly investment report. In July and August, we don't get as much state revenues, and that's where our money goes into, is our investments from our state revenue. And so you'll see that we did decrease by $3.5 million overall from the beginning of July to the end of September, but by having to use a lot of our excess fund balance money just to cover what TEA would pay us for. So we have gone into our reserves. And you'll notice too on the second page that interest earned for the period is going down slightly due to the COVID and the market going down. So we're not getting as much interest income either. So we've received in that period $4,721 of interest. We're used to having a lot of interest, so this is a little challenge. So, but we are required to do the quarterly investment report for our investments. And we're basically just doing it in TextPool, and Lone Star is our only two investors right now. So, any questions on that? Okay, I'm done. Thank you.
Does Mr. Moore have a presentation?
I do, from Indiana.
Mr. Moore, are you still with us?
I'm still with you, very muchly so. And y'all are really running really late because it's almost 10 o'clock here. So, anyway, this past couple of weeks, we've had several students have competed in the Heart of Texas livestock show and exhibition in Waco, and performed very well and represented us well. Currently, we have 11 projects. Hello?
Did you?
Mr. Moore, you with us?
Yes. I've been talking. You got me?
Do you have anything?
Hello?
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. All right. Well, I was just rattling away. In the last 2 weeks, we've had several students that have gone and competed at the Heart of Texas in Waco in the livestock exhibition in cattle, and swine and goats. We currently have 11 projects at 3rd Street that are in either project development, and some even started in design and the build phase, which is going to be very exciting because many of those projects that will be built will go to Johnson County. We had planned on taking some to Fort Worth, but it has since been canceled. If those of you weren't aware of that, there won't be a Fort Worth stock show this year as it stands. On the athletic, well, let me go to DAP. DAP, we currently have 3 students in DAP. Started the year with 2. Those 2 students have returned to campus, but we have built our population back up to 3 for certain offenses, which is well below what we normally average at this point in the school year, so that's a good thing. So it's been very calm on the discipline side of it, and that aspect is concerned. On the athletics piece, for those of you that were fortunate enough to be in the gym last week, the girls volleyball team came away with a phenomenal win, their first district win in what I know of is 4 years in a district game when they defeated Ferris and had some grit and determination that pulled that off. We've got a big game coming up this week with Glen Rose at home. So those of you that can make it, would love to see you. Middle school competed in their district cross country. We had 3 top 15 finishes on the girls' side, and what Coach Bustamante relayed to me is there were only 3 boys teams out of the schools that were represented there, just because of the COVID situation. District cross country is scheduled for the 28th of this month, so we look forward to trying to get some kids advanced and moving forward in that area as well. Any questions in that regards?
I guess not. Anything else?
That's it as it stands.
All right.
This moment.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Anybody else have any presentations? Okay. Anybody have any questions on any of the other reports? Okay. Well, let's go to item 23. Is there any additional items or anything? Any reports anyone would like to have? Our next regular meeting will be November 16th of 2020, and then we have a special Monday, October 26th at 7. And if there's no more questions, we will go to item 24 and we will adjourn.
What time?
At, yeah, that sounds good.
9:02.
I've got 9:03, but works for me.